Welcome to the road to $1 million US, and let's get right into the Bitcoin chart for today, starting on this 1 week time frame for Bitcoin, because right now, guys, we have a massive bearish divergence in the charts, which is when you have higher highs in the Bitcoin price and lower highs in the RSI momentum indicator. Now, in the case that you don't know, typically this plays out either in the form of some choppy sideways price action or potentially some bearish momentum on this 1 week time frame. So of course we are talking about some longer term moves here. Now, do I think that this is a massive problem for Bitcoin right now? Well, I think it is simply a little bit too early to be sending any massive warning signals, because notice how we have this ascending trend line in the Bitcoin price, and for now we are not breaking down below that yet. Currently, this level is sitting at about 112K in the Bitcoin price. Now, if we start getting candle closes below here, and especially if we start getting candle closes below 109K, then that will start to look pretty bearish for Bitcoin. And we have to be open to the possibility at that point that we might be going to the bottom of the range once again, which currently is sitting at about 96K in the Bitcoin price. As I said, for now it is too early because we haven't broken down yet. But if we go back all the way to the previous cycle top for Bitcoin, we see some pretty concerning similarities here, because here once again we had some kind of double top with a bearish divergence here as well on the weekly time frame. And as soon as we broke this ascending trend line in the Bitcoin price, that actually confirmed the bear market for Bitcoin. And of course, you know what happened after that. We saw about a 70% drawdown from the all-time highs. Coming back to today's price action, like I said, it is a little bit early to be talking about full-on breakdowns and bear markets and all of that. So as far as I am concerned, you can just completely ignore all of the people on Twitter that are already screaming about a bear market right now, because it is simply way too early to tell. But I wanted to have shared this with you guys ahead of time before I start sounding the alarms. Now, if we move on to the 1 day time frame for Bitcoin, notice how right here we are simply in a downtrend on this 1 day time frame. And as I have been saying over and over again, guys, so long as we are trading below this descending trend line, I'm still simply leaning more bearish on Bitcoin until the point that we actually break this descending trend line, because from that point onwards, you will start to see me look for another move into overbought territory once again. Besides that, we do also have a bearish divergence confirmed in the 1 day time frame. So you already know how that actually plays out. And so far, we are simply seeing some bearish momentum so far. If we're looking at support and resistance, currently for this descending trend line, the resistance is sitting at about 114.5K, and the support to the downside is sitting from 112 all the way down to 110,000. Now, if we were to get some kind of break through this descending trend line, then the next big area of resistance above is from 115.5 all the way up to 116.5. And zooming into the immediate short term for Bitcoin, notice how right here we have a descending trend line and an ascending trend line as well. So this is what we call a symmetrical triangle pattern. This is where we are consolidating inside this pattern, and from there we can either break out to the upside or the downside. So I understand that this immediate short-term analysis might not be very satisfying with me just telling you that, yeah, we can go up or still break down here, but that is simply what the technical analysis is pointing towards at the moment. It makes sense during a time like this to be more neutral on the Bitcoin price until we see a break either below 113.5 or a break above 114.3K. Moving on to the Bitcoin liquidation heat map. First of all, on this 3 day time frame, and notice how earlier today we took out a bunch of liquidity here, and now we are left with big liquidity to the downside around 112K, but also a decent amount of liquidity to the upside at 115 and even 116,000. If I zoom out to this 2 week time frame though, this is giving us a bit of a different picture, because most of the liquidity is to the upside on this higher time frame. And like I've been saying over and over again, this does leave the door open for Bitcoin to get another move at least up to this level here. But for now, it is once again too early to be looking for this liquidity to be grabbed, because we need to break those descending trend lines in the price first. And once that has happened, and only once that has happened, then we start looking towards this upside liquidity, 117, 118, and even 120,000. Moving on to the Bitcoin ETF flow tables. Yesterday and the day before, we saw a massive outflow from these Bitcoin ETFs with $300 and $200 million respectively. So for now, this is having a downwards pressuring effect on the Bitcoin price. Now, before I close off today, guys, make sure to go subscribe to my RT1M altcoins channel, because here I post a daily Ethereum and Solana analysis as well. In fact, I called the altcoin crash that we had recently ahead of time. So that was actually a great warning signal for you guys that subscribe to this channel early on. Besides Ethereum and Solana, I also do some general altcoin technical analysis. So if that is something you're interested in, go ahead and check that out. But regardless, if you do end up subscribing or not, thank you for watching once again, and I will see you tomorrow in the next one.